Anthony Richardson, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
This is AJ Brown, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
This is Josh Allen, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
He can't be plugged in here. Something's got going on. How about now? Can you guys hear me now? Are we good now? Logitech. I think I'm coming out of the camera, though. I don't even know if this is coming out of the damn... Look at this. I finally caught up to you guys. All right. Thank you for the super chat to tell me I'm muted. Thank you to my cousin for texting me, telling me that I'm muted. All right. Are we back now? Boom. We're back. He's back. 3 minutes of wasted audio, of wasted video. We're not restarting. We're not going. Hopefully the audio is not too bad. It says it's coming out of the camera, which is not right. But you know what we're going to do? We're just going to roll with the punches, and we're going to go with it. Let's go back to the top. Sean Roberts, he dropped $1 in here just to let me know, hey, you're muted, dog. $1.99 from Sean Roberts. PPR flex, choose one. Pitts, Diggs, Thornton. I talked about the idea that Thornton, talked to myself about this, the idea that I heard the Chip Kelly murmurs about how Pete Carroll loved him at 6'5", 196, blah, blah, blah. He runs a 4.3. I get it. I love Pitts. I love the matchup in Tampa with Atlanta. But Diggs is the higher-ranked guy. Diggs is the top 100 player in the flex rankings for Trashman. If you go over to RosterWatch.com, we'll just go from the jump. Click that like button. Click subscribe if you're here on YouTube. We're starting Kyle Pitts, Sean Roberts. I appreciate you. Click the like button. Click subscribe. Drop your questions in the chat. Drop your thoughts in the chat. And if you got a super chat, it's going to skyrocket that question to the top of the chat. Again, you can get everything over at RosterWatch.com, Pro Premium memberships. You can get the DFS Hyper Tool. You can get our top props from the weekend. You can get our Week 1 rankings, our flex rankings. Now Alex's computer's making noises. We're off to a hot start. It's Week 1, baby. I'm excited. I don't really care. Click the like button. Click subscribe. Let's rock and roll. Let's see if we got a super chat. I saw one come in here a minute ago from our guy Michael Rasmussen. Of course, that was the one that says you can't hear you. All right, good. Let's go back to the top. D Hill, Penix or Jordan Love is the question for Week 1 at the quarterback position. When you look at the quarterback position, how we have it ranked out between Jordan Love and Penix. Honestly, again, I just talked about the Atlanta-Tampa game while I was muted, and I said I love this matchup. I love everybody in the matchup. I love everybody from London to Pitts. Obviously, Bijan. I love Abuka, Evans. I even love Rachaad White. I think Rachaad White's very interesting in all formats because I think this backfield is going to be split a lot more than people expect off the rip. All right, the question was Penix or Love. We have these guys back-to-back in our rankings right now. For Week 1, Michael Penix has the number 11 matchup in the RosterWatch matchup tool. Another tool you can get over at RosterWatch.com if you're a pro and premium member. Jordan Love is the 16th ranked matchup. I don't love the Jordan Love matchup as much as Trashman and Alex do. They have him both ranked in the top 20. I have Love as a 25th ranked quarterback this week. I prefer Penix to Jordan Love vastly. John Cedar Park, a lot of comments already for this one. Thank you, John Cedar Park. Appreciate you, dog. Eagles in Arizona. Let's go. Let's go. Penix or Fields? So another Penix question today. Fields, we do have consensus a little bit higher. I, again, have Penix ranked higher than Fields. Fields is running into an a defense in Pittsburgh that he practiced against every single day last year. I know there's a narrative that goes both ways in these conversations. Fields knows that defense better than anybody. That defense knows Fields better than anybody. But here's the deal. That's Mike Tomlin and Mike Tomlin's defense with a couple of new guys in Jalen Ramsey and stuff. But for the most part, that defense knows everything about Justin Fields. Justin Fields, we've never looked at as an elite processor, a guy that retains a lot of knowledge, no offense, but isn't able to attack a defense. I'm taking, the Pittsburgh defense in this matchup right now. It's the 31st ranked, the second to worst matchup on the matchup tool this weekend for Justin Fields. So as a team, consensus, RosterWatch has Fields ranked ahead. Personally, I'm taking Michael Penix over Justin Fields. DeAndre Swift or Garrett Wilson. I'm going to pop up the YouTube on my computer so I can see when and if any super chats do go to the top, because I do not obviously want to miss them. So give me 1 second. If I pop this up, mute that so you don't hear it, and we're good there. Looks like we got a bot in the chat. I got to block this bot. That's not good. Hide user. There you go. Get rid of this NFL streaming thing. All right. Swift or Garrett Wilson is the question. Swift is interesting, right? We've heard Roshan's probably not going to play DNP a couple times this week. Kyle Monangai has gotten a lot of the positive comments from Ben Johnson and from the staff in Chicago. Of course, Garrett Wilson is dealing with the same situation I just talked about with Justin Fields. Interesting, right? I do think he's going to get peppered with targets. How good does that look is kind of in the eye of the beholder and in the eye of Justin Fields. I think we've seen a lot of good tape, good clips from Jalen Ramsey the last couple of weeks of training camp, going against a guy in DK Metcalf that isn't the most agile in and out of breaks, which is something that older cornerbacks tend to struggle with. We know Ramsey is, an elite athlete, once was, ran a 4.4 coming out of Florida State and stuff, but he got a little bit tighter at his age. I do think Ramsey's going to be good, but I think taking what he looks like against DK Metcalf for what he could potentially look like against a route runner like a Garrett Wilson, a Jerry Jeudy, a Stephon Diggs, these guys of this nature, I'm not quite to that length right there. So off the hoof, I'm going Garrett Wilson right here. In Trashman's flex rankings, Wilson is, let's see here. Again, I was saying this earlier, but the computer situation is going to take me a minute to get under my wraps. Garrett Wilson's 46. And maybe you guys didn't realize that because I said I'm at Alex's house. So Alex's setup is what I'm dealing with, and that's why I was muted throughout. I'm going to go Garrett Wilson. Trashman also has Garrett Wilson 5 spots higher than Swift. Michael Rasmussen, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you for tapping into the chat today. ETN, Trevion Henderson. We got to get used to that. Trevion Henderson, Holland. Who's Holland? Michael Rasmussen. Who's Holland? Is that who's Holland? I gotta try. Did you comment again here? Michael Rasmussen, Holland. I don't know who Holland is. Hallin. Unless I'm pulling something empty here. I don't know what Holland is. It's got to be Hall. It's Hall. Sorry, I'm dumb. ETN, Trevion Henderson, Hall is the question here at the running back position. I believe we have Trevion Henderson pretty consensus as the #1 running back amongst these three. Trevion is our running back 19 on the week. He's got a middling matchup. I tell you what, I think Alex is a little more bullish on the Trevion thing than I am in week 1. I do think that there's going to be an interesting dynamic of Ramondre and Antonio Gibson in this backfield. And I'm not sure what that really entails. I do think that New England's going to try to establish the run off the rip. I do think it's going to be rainy. I'm not sure what that does to the passing game in New England. I personally like ETN quite a bit. I have ETN ranked the highest by myself, higher than ETN and Hall. Or sorry, than Henderson and Hall. I have ETN as a 15th ranked running back this week, which is exceptionally higher than Trashman and Alex. And I'm kind of on an island by myself with this. So personally, Michael Rasmussen, I'm going Travis Etienne in the Etienne Bowl. Travis is going to Carolina to play against Trevor, his brother, the rookie. And they're going back to Carolina, which is obviously where Travis went to Clemson. It's the #1 matchup on the RosterWatch matchup tool. So, I mean, it checks out. I do think this game is not a sneaky shootout per se, but I think it's a sneaky good game. I think we got Tet in this game that's going to get some work. ETN's going to get some good work. I think that Leggett could pop off for a little something. Jatavius Sanders, Bretton Strange, 2 of the cheapest tight ends on the slate that I do like as well. So we got through the muted situation right there. Penix or Love was already asked and answered. John Cedar Park, spitting gold that we can't hear. Appreciate you for dropping that little knowledge right there, man. Let's see here. What do we got next? We got to get through all those stupid questions. Jose Avalos, got Metcalf as a starter. Should I sit him for Diggs or Shakir? I'm not quite ready to sit Metcalf for a Khalil Shakir. As far as the rankings go this week and projections, between Metcalf and Diggs, they're close. Metcalf's got the 26th ranked matchup on the RosterWatch matchup tool, bottom 5. We're pretty consensus right around that wide receiver 2 fringe, wide receiver 3 spot, 24, 25 overall. And then you talk about Diggs was the other one. He's right below that, right around wide receiver 33, 36, 37 for us as a team. So I'm going to go ahead and ride it with DK Metcalf. Keep him in the starting lineup. He's got Rodgers. I think Rodgers is a fine quarterback, not one that anybody wants to play in fantasy football, but I do think that target consolidation between Metcalf and Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith is going to be kind of just exactly what that is. Thank you for the question, Jose. Another year, Kyle Gregory says, PPR, Adunze or Travis Hunter. The first Travis Hunter question comes by way of comparison and question with Rome Adunze. Very interesting. You know, we were just talking about this last night when the news came out that he was going to play predominantly offense. Mr. Travis Etienne or Travis Hunter is against Rome Odunze on Monday Night Football. It's interesting. I'm not ready to put Rome Odunze in that #1 wide receiver role in Chicago quite yet. It's got a good matchup against the Vikings. But Travis Hunter, we just talked about that Carolina-Jacksonville game. Tedero McMillan, Brian Thomas, ETN, Chuba Hubbard, Strange and Sanders. It's not a sneaky shootout game, but it's a sneaky good game. I think Travis Hunter's a big part of that. The first thing that came to my mind when I read that he was going to play predominantly offense and situationally on defense was 7-8 targets. And when I was talking to Alex about that, I was like, well, 7-8 targets, like if you think about it from that perspective, he's going to get an opportunity, for a deep ball. And that's one thing we know Travis Hunter can excel in. So I'm going to go Travis Hunter here over Rome Odunze, Kyle Gregory. Great question. Thank you for that. Again, reminder, you guys can head over to RosterWatch.com. You can get the week 1 rankings. You can get Trash Man's flex rankings. You can get the DFS Hyper Tool. You can get the top props from the week that we have up at RosterWatch.com if you become a pro or a premium member. All right, what's the next one here? Where's the Robot Genius, says Raph. Well, Robot Genius is tucked away somewhere secret, and maybe he's going to make an appearance at some point down the line, but that's to be discussed at a further meeting. Mark Lucas, Travion stat line today. Alex, what's the Travion stat line today? Because I'm not as bullish on Travion as you are. I think there's going to be a little more Ramondre, Antonio Gibson. And for those listening to me talk off the screen, Alex just walked in the room. So I'm going to ask him, what's the Travion stat line look like today?
54 yards rushing with 6 catches for another 42.
54 yards rushing, 6 catches for another 42. So that puts us right around 15 and a half, 16 fantasy points with, of course, upside to take one of those receptions for a touchdown. So it's going to put yourself in a pretty good spot if you got Travion in your lineup today. Mark Lucas, great question. Thank you for that. John in Cedar Park, I know what your rankings say, but, well, there's always a but in there. Who had the highest ceiling in PPR? Scattaboo or Woody Marks? That's an interesting question that I was not expecting this morning, if I'm being quite honest with you. Tyron Tracy's a very sneaky play this week. Like, people don't want to play Tyron Tracy for whatever reason. You bring up Scattaboo, and obviously Devin Singletary's there. I think it's interesting. Like, is there a chance that he just gets plunged in there and we just kind of nobody's gotten this from the beat? I know it's the New York media. Nobody's gotten this from the New York media to talk about Scattaboo at a higher level to where he's going to actually split or take on a lead role. I'm not sure if I fully believe into that, so I'm not going to go that far. They got a top 10 matchup on the tool. Woody Marks, on the other hand, in Houston, again, you got Nick Chubb there. I think what you're looking for is the reception side of things. I think he's going to be the third down back off the rip. Nick Chubb's going to be a first, second down back. Woody Marks should split in there for some of those reps. Dameon Pierce probably going to be active for some of that as well, but it's a bottom 5 matchup. So that's kind of where the push and pull comes in, John, where in PPR, I would generally off the rip probably just lean into Woody Marks for that pass-catching role. But, I mean, if you're going to contemplate playing either one of these guys in week 1, it's got to be Woody Marks. I'm not ready to play Cam Scattaboo myself here in week 1. So if you're talking about in the totality of the sport, it's probably Cam Scattaboo. If you're like any given week, what could happen? It's probably Cam Scattaboo just getting that New York Giant backfield, but I'm going to go Woody Marks here. Derek, thank you for the question. He says, Cortland Sutton and Tedero McMillan or Ricky Pearsall at the wide receiver position. Cortland Sutton is actually in a fine matchup against Tennessee this week. They're a little bit banged up on the back end. They always pretty much seem to be. It's a good matchup for Denver as well. They're favored by 8.5 in this one. It's a tough game to kind of call from that perspective and a tougher situation for Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans. Not sure how much they're going to be able to push Denver to have to pass the football because I think they really want to lean into the Harvey, Dobbins, McLaughlin situation. We got Tedero McMillan as the highest ranked player amongst these three. Ricky Pearsall is quite a bit lower than the group he just mentioned here between Sutton and McMillan. So we're going to go Tedero McMillan. I personally have him as a top 10 wide receiver on the week. As a consensus, we have him right there at wide receiver 14. Big Meech, is it worth having Brian Robinson and Garendo as handcuffs, or should I cut Garendo for someone like Monagai, half PPR? Well, to be quite frank, they told us about 2.5 weeks ago, after the Garendo injury, that Garendo was not a serious injury and that they really liked Garendo. And then they went out and they, bought Brian Robinson for what ended up being just a touch cheaper than what they traded away Jordan Mason for. I think it was like a 5th, and then it was a 4th. So I think they got a 4th for Mason. They traded a 5th for Brian Robinson. I tend to just believe it's going to probably be Brian Robinson if something really happens, who gets the bulk of the touches that matter. Grendo fits that scheme so well, though. I kind of like it. So if you have both of them as handcuffs, I don't mind that. Monagai, on the other hand, what is the real upside for a Kyle Monagai? Is it that he gets a potential Pacheco type situation if a Swift goes down. I'm not sure I believe in that. I think more so than anything in Chicago, if a running back like a Swift goes down, who I do think is going to be featured in that running back role, he's going to get not a Kyron Williams 80, 90% opportunity share, but he's going to get a high. He's going to be in there for more than 70% of the snaps, which matters. Roschon obviously dinged up right now. If something happens to Swift, though, they're going to be on the market. They're going to be digging. They're going to be calling up the Cleveland Browns for a Jerome Ford after Quinshawn just signed his contract. They're going to be calling people for running backs. They're not just going to give the reins to Kyle Monaga. I think we've heard it from that positive of a direction. So I think if I'm you and I'm handcuffing, I'm just holding B-Rob and Garendo on the roster. D-Hill, thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate you as well. Dr. Smooth wants to know if he should play the non-smooth DeKaleb Metcalf or the long, lengthily Tedero McMillan in standard. In the standard side of things, in PPR, I would think I would go McMillan here. As far as the matchup, it's a bottom 6 matchup for DK Metcalf. I think you still got to go in half PPR to Tedero McMillan. You're looking over here like you want to say something. Would you? Okay.
5-minute warning.
5-minute deal. 5-minute warning. I'm gonna try to blitz through all these questions. I'll get to you. If I don't get to you, go over to RosterWatch.com. Go to the become a pro member. There's a comment section. There's a thread up with a bunch of questions in it already, and we will answer those questions before kickoff. That's a guarantee. All right, so DK Metcalf or Tedero McMillan. We're going to go Tedero McMillan. Ions Cats, you need some mods to fight the bots. Yeah, well, I mean, there's another bot in here. We'll block it later. Eagles in Arizona, PPR, Ridley or Keon Coleman. Calvin Ridley's in a tough matchup right now. Honestly, if Keon Coleman wasn't even a little bit banged up, I would hammer down on Keon Coleman right now. Coleman's got also a tough match. I'm just going to go Calvin Ridley for the target share. I think there's a guaranteed target share with the Calvin Ridley side of things. Very tough situation here between Calvin Ridley and Keon Coleman. You have Eagles in Arizona. Best of luck. Go Calvin Ridley. All right, let's blitz through a couple of these. Jake D, PPR need 2 in the flex. Ridley, Tracy, Olave, or Josh Downs. I'm going Tracy and Olave. Derek says Breece Hall, Jerome Ford, or Aaron Jones. I'm going Aaron Jones over Breece Hall there, and I'm going to leave Jerome Ford in the dust. Bob Watson wants to know if he should play Marvin Harrison Jr. or James Conner in PPR flex. I'm leaning James Conner here. I'm going to lean James Conner. They love James Conner, and everybody else hates James Conner, it seems like, in the fantasy ethos. So I'm going to go James Conner, PPR flex. The Kyler Murray thing, I don't know if it really weighs a lot on him being a little bit sick. If it does it make him throw the ball 2 or 3 less times or run the ball a little bit less or more? I think it benefits Conner either way. Matthew Golden or Austin Eckler for a flex. Listen, I think Eckler is going to get a role. I think he's probably going to have 12 to 14 touches, but I'm not sure how high value. There. I think once they get down to the red zone area, it's probably going to become a Rodriguez situation. I also think it's going to be a 3-headed monster. So I'm going to go Matthew Golden in your flex. Benny with an interesting one. Cooper Kupp and Juwan Jennings. So Cooper Kupp and Juwan Jennings, they're only about 8 spots apart here in the rankings. I sort of like Cooper Kupp. I think he's a little underrated. I think he was a little underrated the last 2 weeks of drafting this fall. If you're using the Ultimate Draft cheat sheet at RosterWatch.com, you would have gotten a little bit of Cooper Kupp. Richard Ahmad says, what's up, man? DK or Sutton? I think I just answered. No, I did DK or Tedoroa. DK or Sutton is going to be a little bit closer together than I think DK and Tedoroa was. We still have Sutton about 5 spots higher than DK Metcalf. A couple more here. Sean Roberts, pick one. Henderson, Aaron Jones, or Chubb. Not Chubb, but between Henderson and Aaron Jones, my ankle just kind of wants to go right to Aaron Jones, though Travion, look at that. Back-to-back in the Roster Watch running back rankings. The best matchup goes to Aaron Jones, top 5 matchup against Chicago on Monday Night Football. Trevor, I got AJ'd and looking for upside in my other wide receivers. Pick 2 in standard. I told you, Alex, we were going to get a question about Xavier Legette. In standard, you pick 2. Zay Flowers, Jalen Waddle, Xavier Legette, or Cedric Tillman. Process of elimination, I'm getting rid of Tillman. Flowers, Waddle, Legette is where I'm starting. I'm picking Waddle. So between Flowers and Legette, Alex is shaking me off. He's like, you got to pick Flowers. I just always have a tough time. I'm kind of like trash, man. I have a really tough time playing Baltimore receivers, but I think you got to play Flowers and Waddle. One more here. Glenn Skeen says 2 of Waddle, Sutton, Pearsall. That's easy. Give me Waddle and give me Cortland Sutton. Appreciate y'all. Here, one more. I'll finish up right here with this one. Jay Fleets. Need to choose one. PPR. Garrett Wilson or James Cook. Listen, I told you earlier, I like the target share. I like the projected opportunity for Garrett Wilson. But James Cook, Sunday Night Football, give you something to watch at the end of the night tonight on Sunday Night Football between Baltimore and the Buffalo Bills. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. If you got any more questions, go over to RosterWatch.com, become a pro member, drop those questions in the thread. They will be answered before kickoff.
This is Anthony Richardson, and you're listening to Roster Watch.
This is AJ Brown, and you're listening to Roster Watch.
This is Josh Allen, and you're